Today in the GSTCA final lecture series, we are going to study electronic commerce transactions. E-commerce. Now, e-com transactions through e-commerce, buying and selling through e-commerce is increasing day by day by the inclusion or uh, by due to new online platforms being created every day. Online platforms like Amazon, Flipkart, Meesho, Myntra, Blinkit, and whatnot. So many Swiggy, Zomato, so many online e-commerce platforms are present in today's world, and now only at you, all the goods are at your fingertips. So these the big chunk of transaction which is taking place through these e-commerce platforms, they also needs to be properly included in the GST regime. Now GST regime, since it's a new age tax reform, so obviously these new tech revolutions, especially the financial and commercial tech revolutions which have taken place in the last decade, it should be properly incorporated as well. Therefore, a new chapter electronic commerce operator is there in the CGST Act 2017. So, see, as per the ICAI PDF, this PDF is not editable. Okay? So we will try and gaze through different sections or the different parts of this PDF. Only one way of communication is my audio communication. You'll have to emphasis on those areas, and I will zoom those areas which needs to be understood in detail. Okay. See, in this page, so it's a page by page video. So in this page, it's only a mere introduction is there on what electronic commerce transaction, what are the learning outcomes, etc. So quickly look at the learning outcomes. First, you have to comprehend the meaning, what actually the term electronics commerce is and what is not. Now, because taxation is a very legally technical subject, so you have to understand which transaction will be part of electronic commerce transaction, which will not be. Who is an electronic commerce operator? Whether Reebok selling its own merchandises on website is an electronic commerce operator or not, because Reebok is also a company which is obviously not present in India. So we have to understand, we have to distinguish who is purely an electronic commerce operator then and who is not. Secondly, the taxability procedure. Of course, once we identify who are the electronic commerce operator and what electronic commerce actually consists of, then we have to understand how the taxability works. Then in this taxability part, the major point is, for example, if you will ask anyone who is in GST for a year or two or even more than that, the first thing that comes to mind is, if it's an electronic commerce operator, it's TCS. Yeah, TCS is there. Then this tax would be collected at source only and would be paid to by that supplier only, even though there are so many intermediate processor involved. TCS, ECA, electronic commerce operator, TCS. For example, works contract service, TDS. Yeah, the department will deduct TDS if a transaction is below a given threshold and will deposit it directly to the government. Similarly, TCS, at the source only tax would be collected. No need to the actual supplier need not collect the tax. Where the first payment, whenever the payment flows through a channel, in case of electronic commerce operator, the payment flows through a channel by the amount is with the customer who is actually enjoying the benefit of electronic commerce. He or she will deposit or transfer it to the platform who is enabling it, right? Then that platform will further transfer it to the end supplier, but the source is where? At the customer only. The first transfer is where? At the platform only. So at that point only the tax will be collected and therefore deposited to government. So as and when anyone says EC, electronic commerce operator, the all transactions of electronic commerce, then the first thing that comes to mind is TCS is there. How TCS works, that's also a learning outcome. And then what are the registration requirements? So there are certain cases, as I said in the earlier classes, that where mandatory registration is required. Even though the threshold is below 40 lakhs or 20 lakhs whatsoever, you need to take a mandatory registration. Okay, so registration provisions or the registration requirements. Now which operator will become an electronic commerce operator, and who is the person supplying through those electronic commerce operator also needs to be clearly identified and understood, and then only we can think about, okay, these are the person whose registration is must under section 25, or I guess 25 or 35, whatever it is. We'll look at it in detail later on. So this page is nothing. The whole page is of 50, the whole this PDF is of 54 pages. Second page is, now second page, it basically tells who is a electronic commerce operator. Now it's not defining it for sure, and there are certain relevant definitions. We will just gloss it over. Who is an agent? Of course, someone who is either buying or selling on behalf of someone. Aggregate turnover. Now aggregate turnover means taxable supplies and exempt supplies also. So exempt supply is also taxable supply, because tax is leviable, but it has been exempted by the notification of government. Yeah, so exempt supply. Okay, then it also includes export. Now export means the actual destination is outside India, that is, it's a non-taxable territory, still it's parts of taxable aggregate turnover. Okay, of course it does not include central, state and UT and IGST taxes. Of course taxable aggregate turnover does not include GST. Inward supply we know, outward we know, taxable supply we know, that on which tax is leviable, supplier we know. And then there comes another point which I'll explain it, that a person who organizes or arranges directly or indirectly, who organize or arrange. If I am organizing, I am incurring the cost. If or I am arranging, then I am delegating it to someone else, that you arrange it, you organize it. Okay, I am arranging or organizing, either directly or indirectly, supply of specified actionable claims. Okay, now in the chapter of supply, value of supply, we had studied that money and actionable claims are not part of supply, right, except specified actionable claims. Okay, money and security, actionable claims, except specified actionable claims. Now those specified actionable claims, including a person who owns, operates or manages the platform, shall be deemed to be a supplier. Okay, sorry, I just got distracted. This was nothing but who is a supplier. So supplier जो arrange भी कराता है is also a supplier, either it's a good or a service or a specified actionable claim. So supplier, the person is supplier only, or through electronic platform, then also it's a supplier. Okay. Now definition as statutory provisions are given. Now we will start from this page. Okay, this is page number 10 of 54. We have quickly glossed over the previous 9 pages. Now from starting from page number 10. It's a small chapter, and let me tell you, it's an important chapter. There are only one or two actual real points that you have to keep in your mind, otherwise it's a simple read chapter. In simple words, electronic commerce or e-commerce means buying and selling the goods or services over internet or computer mediated network. As per the definition provided under section 2 subsection 44, electronic commerce means the supply of goods and or services including digital products over digital or electronic networks. Remember, it's not merely supply of goods or service or both over digital or electronic networks. The product or the good could be a digital product as well. For example, supplying music, Spotify Premium, it's also a product. It's not a service. A digital product, when you buy a digital software, when you buy a software, is it a service? Is it a product? Now, it could be anything which is not goods is a service. True, so it's a service, but digital product is not a goods. Yeah. So digital, when we come into the realm of electronic network, then there are certain goods, certain services that again has to be included. That is digital, which includes digital products. So a new series of services starts, which is digital products. It includes trading through online platform, digital marketplace, online travel agencies, and any other means of electronic communication. What we are talking about, electronic commerce. So when you trade through online platforms, digital marketplace, then there is online travel, these all are e-commerce, these or any means of electronic communication. The definition includes supply of both goods and services, which implies that the concept of e-commerce covers the transaction involving sale of tangible goods as well as provision of intangible services. The definition specifically includes digital products. So the definition writes there that there is some digital products also that also needs to be included, implying that supplies of downloadable or electronically delivered products such as e-books, software, digital music, online courses, all are considered part of e-commerce. The term electronic network. Now, what is electronic network? Because the definition is like that. It means that digital platform, it encompasses various digital platforms like website, mobile application, any other electronic means used for buying or selling of goods and or services. So any electronic means, even if you are doing a telephone, earlier days there used to be shop tele shopping. So if you are doing through telephone, okay, I want to buy this product, and you are dialing a number, it might be an international call or not. So that is also electronic commerce. Why? Because the transaction is done through an electronic platform or an electronic network. Telephoning is also an electronic network, right? Tele shopping, that's also electronic commerce. Don't think only Amazon and Flipkarts are. No, any transaction or any uh, means of buying or selling of goods or of services through an electronic network is electronic commerce. The definition has a very broad concept scope and is intended to cover a wide range of online transaction and digital activities involving buying and selling of goods and services. Now, what does electronic commerce operator means? Eco. We refer it as eco. It's a person. Who is an eco? It's a person. Now, person could be an individual, but of course here in this case it could not be individual other than individual. Who owns, operates or manages a digital platform. It's an or, remember, not and. Or a marketplace where supply of goods and or services take place directly or indirectly. As per the definition under section 2 subsection 45, eco means any person who owns, operates or manages digital or electronic facility. Is there a difference between digital and electronic or platform for electronic commerce? It's more or less same. Okay? Digital is more near this computer and all. Electronic includes telephone and all. The platform could be in the form of website, it could be a mobile application or any other electronic medium. Eco's role is to provide a digital platform where sellers or suppliers can list their services or products and buyer or recipients can place orders, make purchases. So ecos are, they have a dual role. The first role is for the supplier where they can list their products, and the second one is role is of recipient where they can place an order. And the eco has another role that listing of products and placing an order should be should be functional, and that could actually help in real transaction. It's the definition is wide enough to cover various types of e-commerce platforms such as online marketplace, online travel agencies, food delivery platforms, ride hailing apps, and many other digital platforms that facilitate transactions between seller and buyers. See, in this chapter, what you really need to understand that the theory is easy, but when you come at the practical part, then you will have to question: is it an e-commerce operator? Is this an e-commerce transaction? So that we will look through case studies. But there are certain models, and actually, it's trying to explain only that you should be able to identify. There are certain models. For example, online marketplace model. Examples are Amazon, Flipkart, and for services Uber, Ola, Zomato, Swiggy. So mainly we know about online marketplace model wherein a centralized platform is there where which connects the retailers, manufacturers to potential customers. The platform itself does not own or stock the products or has the expertise to provide service. It merely facilitates the transaction and offer additional service such as payment processing, customer support, and logistics. So it could be. Yes. So the actual supply is done by the respective supplier. So there are certain cases where like e-card, the logistic support is, it could be that the online marketplace is only providing logistic support, but it can also be the other way around. The actual transaction is between the retailer or the manufacturer and the customer. Amazon or those online marketplace platforms, they don't have any say in that. It only facilitates. They don't have their own stock. They don't have their own uh, expertise in providing that service. Okay, so we know this very famous, and most of the time we think about this only, but there are certain other models as well. See, direct sales model. What is this? In the direct sales model, the business sell their products or services directly to consumer through their own online stores or website. Okay. Now customers browse the company's website, select a product service and complete the purchase directly with the supplier. For example, logging into Pantaloons, logging into Reebok, logging into Apple. That's a direct sales model. Even in this case, I can buy it through Amazon also. I can buy an iPad on Amazon also. I can buy it on Apple own website also, on a Samsung own website also. Of course, not Apple phone, but a Samsung phone on Samsung website also, or Amazon also. So if I'm buying a product of that only company on its own website, then that's a direct sales model. Okay. For example, Urban Ladder. What is Urban Ladder? Biba. Urban Ladder, Urban Company. The Urban Ladder or Urban Company is give me a minute. What is Urban Ladder? Yes, Urban Ladder is a company of furnitures, right? I got it confused with Urban Company. Anyways, Urban Ladder, Biba, Pantaloons. Urban Ladder is the Godrej Interior, right? Okay. Now the third type of you know model is inventory model. This is something an overlap between the two. What happens here is that e-commerce also maintains an inventory of its own that it supplies to customer. The platform takes responsibility for warehousing, inventory management, fulfilling of order. This model is typical for traditional retailers who also have an online presence. So what happens is that I acquired it from different retailers, and now I am selling it. I am doing its inventory. I am managing it, and I am fulfilling the order. So Those above e-commerce business models are not exhaustive. I'll explain it later, and many e-commerce business made up a combination of those, whatever suits them. Another way of classifying is B2C, B2B, C2C, C2B, C2G, G2C, and B2G. Of course, we know that. Who is the supplier, is a business person or a consumer or it's a government in that way. What is the taxability of e-commerce transaction? Now, this is an important part. We're coming to e-commerce transactions for supply of goods or services or both are leviable to GST similar to other supply transactions unless otherwise specifically exempted from GST. Some e-commerce transactions are exempted also, so they are, as in the general way, they are also taxable. However, the taxability mechanism is a for e-commerce transactions and compliances for the suppliers and e-commerce have been separately carved out in the law. Following provisions merit consideration in this regard. 1. TCS to be collected by e-commerce operator. There are many e-commerce operators like Amazon, Flipkart, Myntra, Meesho, etc. operating in India. These operators also display or list on their portal products as well as services which are supplied by some other person to the consumer. The goods or services belonging to other suppliers are also displayed on the portals for e-commerce, and consumers buy such goods and services through these portals. On placing the order for a particular product services by the consumer, the actual supplier supplies the selected product or service to the consumer. The collection of from here on, if there is a product and service or a goods or service, I'll read just one because it's very difficult to read all of that together every time. The collection of supply consideration for product, handling of goods, etc. is undertaken by the e-commerce. Collection of supply consideration. What does that mean? Payment, the actual bill, the amount. So, the e-commerce will collect the consideration for the goods that was handed over or sold, depending upon the arrangement between the supplier and e-commerce operator. The e-code thereafter deducts its commission from the consideration for goods collected by it and passes on the net consideration to the supplier. In such cases where a supplier supplies goods and service through an eco and the eco portal and the payment for that supply is collected by eco, the government has placed a responsibility on such eco to collect an amount of 0.5% from such supplier. So I got 100 rupees, I deducted 15 rupees my commission. Now that net 85 rupees, on that 85 rupees I deduct 0.5 of TCS. And eco shall pay the supplier the price of the product less than the amount calculated at 0.5%. The said amount will be calculated on the net value of the goods or services supplied, that is after considering returns through the portal of the eco. Now what does this mean? On the net value of goods supplied, that is after considering returns. What does that mean? Suppose, example is there, a product is sold at 1000 through eco. The eco would collect tax at 0.5% of the net value of 1000, that is 5 rupees. That is, see, another exception is on the net value of the goods supplied. The exception to this is a supplier supplies through eco those services which are notified under section 9(5) of the Act and 55 of IGST Act. The tax on its no, 95 and 55 is RCM now. Sorry, 95 is e-commerce. The tax on such services is to be paid by the eco and as if he is the supplier liable to pay tax on the supply of such services. So, okay, in the chapter supply we have seen section 919, that is charging section, 92 again charging section of services. 93 was RCM, 94 was RCM, 95 was e-commerce. Now in when it is 95, the that in 95 is what e-commerce charging section. What happened was that in certain cases the actual taxability of for like Zomato, yeah. So the actual taxability is on the e-commerce operator. The small restaurant, they will not, because they are not uh, within the threshold. But if a Taj is providing a food service, then of course the Taj will collect tax and will pay tax, right? If Taj is providing through Zomato, okay, now Zomato will collect TCS of course, but the actual tax liability would be forward charge basis. It's not RCM, it's not on e-commerce operator. But a small restaurant which is not registered also is delivering through e-commerce, then I'll explain 95 in detail. Then what will happen is the e-commerce operator. So if it has been notified under 95, then the supplier is only liable to pay tax on the supply of services. Where a supplier supplies the good or service on his own account through a website hosted by him, there is no requirement to collect tax at source. What does this mean? That is, if I opened a Reebok, and I opened a website of Reebok, and now I am selling it. It's on my own account. Then I don't need. The website is hosted by me only. So no arrangement or no intermediary, or there is no electronic commerce operator providing a platform to arrange the transaction. So I don't need to collect a TCS. It's my normal sale through an electronic an electronic mode of communication. So the provision of section 9 subsection 5 of CGST Act and section 5 subsection and section 5 subsection 5 of IGST Act have been discussed in details in next heading. So yeah, there are certain things which needs to be known. What section 9 subsection 5 is, then explain it in detail in the next lecture. Okay. Then we will also look at what are the returns that needs to be filed by the electronic commerce operators. Thank you.